I warned him. I warned my son never to bring you through my gates." Her voice was warm like tea and sharp like a knife. Iyalode Moronkaiji Oladimeji sat in her private chamber, her jeel tall, her wrappers rich, her wrists singing with coral beads. Wealth had trained her to smile in public. Power had trained her to conquer in private. In her hands, she held a glass bottle that glowed faintly, like a secret that could burn if opened. Inside the bottle, a young woman trembled. Efa Dior, heavily pregnant, knees to the glass, palms splayed, lips moving in silent cries. Her belly rippled with the restless kick of a child that should have been cradled by angels, not held hostage by a bottle. Moronkaiji studied the bottle as a jeweler studies a diamond. She smiled, an elegant, expensive smile that never touched her eyes. "You thought love could pay the gate fee into this family," she murmured. "You mistook a ring for a throne. You forgot the first law of wealth. What is mine answers only to me." Efa Dior pounded the glass. No sound, only the dull shimmer of trapped breath. Her eyes begged, "Why me? Why this?" But Moronkaji's gaze was a locked door. "They will call it delayed labor," she said softly. "Doctors will write long reports. Pastors will raise hands and sweat. Your mother will cry. My son will break. And still, nothing. Because nothing moves without my permission." She tilted the bottle, and Efa Dior slid down, clutching her stomach. "Poor girl," Moronkaiji whispered. "Omo Talaka, a girl from a poor background, who believed love could bleach away poverty. You should have married where your mat fits. My son is not a charity project. My wealth is not a public tap." Her smile thinned. "And when they ask me why," she brushed a finger along the glass, "I will be generous and say nothing. The rich do not explain." Efa Dior's tears shimmered like rain that could not fall. The child inside her rolled again, as if pushing against a door that would not open. "Rest," Moronkaiji said, almost tender. "In this bottle, you will not deliver, you will not die, you will simply wait, until my son is free, or until you learn that in this house, I am the law." The lamp quivered. The air held its breath. And in the hush of that room, the battle began. Not between medicine and mystery, but between a woman who owned a house and a woman who only wanted a home. Welcome to African Tales by Emma Day. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let the story begin. Ardewale Akinola Oladimeji did not meet Efa Dior at a ball or a boardroom. He met her in the rain. One of those Lagos rains that fall like a quarrel, hard and unforgiving. He was on his way from a youth empowerment talk at Surulere when he saw a young woman hustling down the roadside with a bolt of fabric balanced on her head, shielding it with a polythene sheet. Her dress was simple, her slippers wet, but the way she moved, calm, focused, unbothered by stares, caught him like a hook. He told his driver to slow down. She ducked beneath a kiosk roof and lowered the fabric gently, as if setting a child to sleep. The kiosk owner hissed at the storm. The young woman laughed softly, wiped her face, and turned the bolt so the rain wouldn't touch it. Ardewale stepped out. "Excuse me," he said, voice careful, money tucked away in his pocket the way a rich man hides it when he wants to be seen as human. "Are you okay?" "I am fine," she said. "It is just water. It will finish." Her smile flickered warm and honest. "Good afternoon." Her name was Efa Dior Akinlabi, daughter of Ronke Akinlabi, a tailor in Mushin. She was delivering uniforms to a primary school before the new term. Ardewale offered to help. She refused, politely, firmly, until the rain returned, angrier. Then she let him carry one end of the bundle into his car. At the school, she settled a mistake without drama. 2 uniforms too small, 1 too big. "I will fix them tonight," she promised the head teacher. The woman had heard promises. She measured Efa Dior's eyes and nodded. This one keeps her word. On the ride back, Ardewale learned small truths. Efedayor studied economics part-time. She read borrowed books and returned them early. She disliked pity. It rusted dignity. Her father was late. Her mother sewed late. She loved the smell of starch on Saturday mornings, the way a well-cut dress could make a woman stand taller. He asked for her number. She hesitated. "Sir, my name is Ardewale. You look like you do not wait for anything," she said, teasing without malice. "I am waiting now," he replied. She smiled and surrendered the digits like a challenge. It rained for 3 days. He waited 4 to call. Days became conversations. Conversations became errands shared. He picked up zippers and cones of thread on the 6th and dropped them at Mushin, because traffic was an altar all Lagosians must serve. She proofread his slides for a community workshop and circled his big grammar. He laughed and kept the circles. He taught her Excel shortcuts. She taught him the economics of market women who do not read graphs but understand profit like scripture. One evening, he arrived at the Akin Lobby compound. Generator hum, children shouting, a woman at a sewing machine that looked older than her pain. Mama Ronke glanced up, measuring this tidy stranger with his quiet cologne. "You are welcome," she said. "Sit." Ardewale greeted, bought pure water for the children, and listened as the compound traded jokes. He watched Efedayor hem a dress for a neighbor's teenage daughter, the girl looking at herself with new oceans in her eyes. When the light flickered, Ardewale rolled up his sleeves and checked the generator. Not like a prince doing charity, but like a man who grew up with uncles too proud to call an electrician until the smoke rose. By the time he left, night had found Lagos again. At the gate, a child whispered, "Auntie Dior, this uncle is good." The other child asked, "Is he our uncle?" The compound laughed. The first test of their strange, ordinary love arrived on a Sunday. Adewale took her to a small cafe that pretended to be European and failed deliciously. As they ate, a friend of his, Borde, the son of a commissioner, walked in with loud perfume and small eyes. "Wale!" Borde clapped him too hard. He shook Efedayor's hand like he was greeting a waitress. "How's your outreach?" "Borde, meet my friend, Efedayor," Ardewale said. His voice had iron in it. Borde's smile was a spoon, thin, bending. "Nice. Very nice. Wela, swing by this Friday. Big people will be around. We will introduce you properly." When Borde left, Efedayor sipped water as if it were a shield. "Your friend is interesting." "He is a weather vane," Adewale said, "always turning to face whoever brings the wind." He held her gaze. "I do not turn." She believed him. But belief is not proof. Proof lives in future rooms. Proof arrived when Ardewale said, "I want you to meet my parents." "Already?" "I am not a boy. Your mother will not like me." "My mother does not like anyone she did not choose," he said. "But my father will listen." He placed his palm over hers. "And I have chosen." She did not cry. She only nodded, her mouth steady, and said the bravest sentence a poor girl can say to a rich reality, "Okay." The Oladimeji mansion in Ikoyi did not open. It happened. High walls. Lawns like well-combed hair. Inside, chandeliers remembered Paris, and the rugs remembered Persia, and even the staircase seemed to say, "Climb, but mind yourself." Chief Akinola Oladimeji welcomed them first, tall, silver at the temples, voice like a radio that never shouts. He shook Efedayor's hand with both of his, a small dignity that can make a person feel visible. "You are welcome, my daughter," he said. "Sit. In this house, we greet before we judge." Tea arrived. Puff Puff arrived. The silence before the storm arrived. And then the storm entered. Ialode Moron Kaiji, jewels, perfume that announced and then scolded you for not anticipating. a smile trained by photographers. Her eyes flicked to Efedayor and did not stay. "Akin," she said to her husband, "I thought you said we had family coming." "We do," Chief Akinola replied gently. "Our son has brought the woman he loves." She looked at Ardaiwale, then at the tea set, then at the ceiling, careful not to look at Efedayor, as if refusal could erase presence. "Oh," she said, pouring herself tea. "You brought someone." Silence sharpened the air. Ardaiwale spoke evenly. "Mother, this is Efedayor Akinlabi. She's the person I told you about." Moronkaiji stirred her tea that did not need stirring. "Akinlabi. From where?" "Mushin, ma," Efedayor said, voice steady, back straight. "Mushin." The word sat in Moronkaiji's mouth like a seed she would never plant. "What do your people do?" "My mother is a tailor, ma." "Your father?" "Late, ma." "Which late?" she asked, as if grief had grades. 10 years, ma." "May his soul rest," Chief said softly. "Amen," said everyone but the storm. "And you?" Moronkhaiji asked. "School?" "Part-time, ma. Economics. I assist my mother." "Ah?" She smiled, finally looking at Efedayor the way a person looks at fabric to test its thickness. "So you sew, and study, and assist." Her gaze shifted to Ardaiwale, the smile widening without warmth. "And you, my son, speak in Victoria Island and shop in Mushin." Ardaiwale's jaw tightened. "Mother." She turned the smile off like a switch. "Let us not pretend," she said pleasantly. "The home of Oladimeji is not a project. We are not a ministry of uplift. We marry to build, not to babysit. Love is good, very sweet, but love does not pay maintenance on marble." Chief Akinola cleared his throat. "Moronkaiji, allow me," she said. "Young lady, you may be an angel, I do not know. But angels also have addresses. What is your father's compound? Who is your mother's people? If I am to give you my name, what will you bring to it? Thread?" Efedayor's throat burned. She swallowed the heat and chose truth. "I will bring honor, ma," she said. "I will bring respect. I will bring peace to your son." "Peace." Moronkaiji laughed, clapping once. "From Mushin? My dear, peace wears perfume." Ardaiwale leaned forward. "Mother, respect yourself." Chief's eyes flashed warning. "Ardaiwale!" "No," Ardaiwale said, still respectful, voice low steel. "If we are weighing people by addresses, then we have lost the point of living. This woman is worthy." Moronkaiji set her cup down. The sound was small but carried. "Worthy, is it? Akin," she turned to her husband. "Do you hear your son? Because he read books abroad, he thinks he can correct culture." Chief met his son's eyes, then Efedayor's. "My wife, let us not insult the girl," he said calmly. "She is a guest, and she is our son's choice." "And I am his mother," Moronkaiji replied, smile returning like a polished weapon. "Which outranks guest." The visit ended with polite words that had knives tucked under them. At the door, Chief shook Efedayor's hand again and said, "My daughter, courage is expensive, but it is also a key. Ma Foya, do not fear." He whispered into Ardaiwale's ears. "Son, we will discuss." In the car, the city roared around them. Efedayor stared at her hands. "I am sorry," Ardaiwale said, "for everything she said." "You told me she would not like anyone she did not choose," Efedayor replied simply. "At least she is consistent." Her laugh trembled but did not fall apart. "If I cry now, it will not be for me. It will be for you." "For me?" "You are the one who must choose between a woman who gave you life and a woman who gives you home." She turned to him. "Do not choose now. Just stand." He did not kiss her. He held her hand like a promise that had to learn patience. That night, the Oladimeji master bedroom grew smaller. "Akin, you are a father. Behave like one," Moronkaiji said, pacing. "Do not support foolishness." "Moronkaiji, the girl is decent," Chief replied. "I saw it in her eyes. She respects herself. She respects us. We do not marry eyes, Akin. We marry families. Can her people sit with ours? Can they carry this name without bending under it? Names bend if the people inside them are proud without reason, Chief said evenly. Is it pride you want to bequeath, or a son who sleeps in peace? She stared at him. You like her. I respect what she stands for, he said. There is a difference. She exhaled. Akin, I grew this house. I held it together with taste and sense. I will not watch a girl from Mushin become our headline. Chief's voice was gentle, final. We will not be the first rich family to accept good character, and we will not be the last rich family to regret rejecting it. She watched him, lips pressed. Then prepare yourself, she said softly. Because if our son insists on shame, I will not sit and smile for photographs. A mother who fights love, Chief warned, often loses her son. A woman who threatens me, she replied, often meets silence. In the silence, wealth felt like a room with not enough air. Days turned into debates. Adewale came to the mansion alone. The first conversation was respectful. Mother, he said, I know your heart for this family. But character must count for something. Character does not drive legacy, she answered. Class does. Class without conscience is a well-set table where nobody eats. She smiled. You have become a preacher. I have become a man, he said. The second conversation carried tremors. Why do you hate her? He asked. Hate. I protect. You humiliated her. I tested her. You failed. Her eyes flashed. Ardewale, mind your tongue. He swallowed the anger. I am minding my life. The third conversation broke something. If you marry that girl, she said quietly, you will regret it. He stood. If I lose her to your pride, you will regret it. Are you raising your voice at me? I am raising my future, he said, voice shaking. And I will not let you bury it because you are afraid of what people will say. They stared at each other. Mother and son on opposite shores, the river between them made of words that once meant love. Chief tried to ferry peace across. In the study, he told his wife, You asked me to be a father. I am being one, to my son and to our name. We cannot buy a daughter-in-law the way we buy curtains. I do not buy wives, she said coldly. I curate them. And what of the heart? He asked. Who curates that? She turned her face to the window. Let him bring another girl. He has brought his joy, Chief said. Let us receive it. What will people say? Let them say we chose goodness. You are sentimental, Akin. And you are afraid, he replied gently. Afraid that wealth will not be enough if the girl at our table reminds us that we are human. For the first time, she said nothing. Fear, when named, often loses its makeup. Chief did not stop there. He went to Mushin. The Akin lobby compound watched a black Prado crawl in like a visiting senator. Children ran behind it. Neighbors peeked from verandas. Mama Ronke stood at her machine, her heart pounding in her ears. Sir, you are welcome, she said, wiping her hands on a clean cloth. Chief smiled. Madam Ronke, I have come as a father. She brought a chair, the best one, and prayed it would not wobble. They talked. He asked about her husband. When he died, how she coped. She told him about God and grit, and the miracle of small profits that wait for no applause. He asked about Efadayor, what made her laugh, what made her stubborn. Mama Ronke said, She does not borrow trouble. She finishes work. He laughed. That is a good woman. Sir, she said, eyes bright, I train my children to carry themselves like rice, never too soft, never too hard. I did not teach them to beg for chairs. They will stand until they are invited. He nodded, moved. Before he left, he placed an envelope on the table. She pushed it back. Sir, thank you. But if I take it, they will say I sold my daughter. she said. "Let them not have a story to tell." Chief bowed his head. "You are a strong woman." "No, sir," she said. "I am only a mother." He returned to Ikoyi carrying a new respect that refused to be shaken. But while Chief was collecting reasons to accept, Morunkaiji was collecting reasons to resist. Every conversation with her friends, every whisper from society women, every side eye at luncheons added stones to the wall she was building in her heart. Her friends at the Women's Association whispered over pepper soup. "Morunkaiji, we hear your son wants to marry a tailor's daughter?" "Ah, God forbid, oh, after all your work, your class, your position. She will drag your name into Mushin mud. We know these girls. They pretend humility, but they come for the property." Morunkaiji smiled politely, but her pride bled inside. She had built her status brick by brick. No girl from the streets would turn her empire into a public joke. A society gala cemented her fears. Chief and Morunkaiji arrived with Ardaiwale, and tongues wagged because he brought Efadayor along. The hall glittered with governors' wives and business moguls' daughters. Efadayor, dressed in a simple gown Mama Ronki had sewn with trembling hands, walked in with quiet dignity. But whispers chased her like shadows. "See? That must be her. She doesn't even wear designers. Which rich son marries this kind of girl?" Efadayor sat still, eyes lowered, pretending not to hear. But Ardaiwale saw. His jaw clenched, and he held her hand tighter under the table. Later, during the dance, one of Morunkaiji's friends leaned close and said, "Madam, you had better control your son before this disgrace becomes official." For the first time, Chief lost patience. "Enough!" he thundered in a voice that carried across the table. "The dignity of a woman is not measured by her dress, but by her heart." The hall fell silent for a moment. Efadayor's eyes stung with tears she dared not release. "At home that night, the storm broke. I will not attend this wedding," Morunkaiji snapped. "Then you will miss your son's joy," Chief replied. "Joy? Joy will finish when hunger begins," she shouted. "What does she bring? Poverty? Shame?" "She brings dignity," Chief said calmly. "She brings disgrace," she spat. "She brings love," Ardaiwale interjected. "She brings ruin," Morunkaiji hissed, her eyes flashing. The house shook with silence. Finally, Chief said, "Morunkaiji, fight this, and you will lose your son forever. Pretend if you must, but accept. Do not dig your own grave with pride." And so, on the wedding day, Iyalode Morunkaiji wore her richest lace, her head tie standing tall. She smiled for photographs, congratulated the bride, hugged guests, pretending like the perfect society mother. But inside, she was already plotting war. After the wedding, Ardaiwale and Efadayor settled into their new home. Happiness warmed their small family. Ardaiwale pampered his wife endlessly. Mama Ronke visited often, blessing the house with prayers. But in the Oladimaiji mansion, Morunkaiji's heart was fire. The very next week, she returned secretly to the Babalawo in Lekki. The man welcomed her with a sly smile. "Madam, you are back. You said the charm will seal her womb," she snapped. "It will, unless your son's love is too strong," the man said carefully. Morunkaiji slammed money on the table. "Strengthen it. I do not care what it costs. Efadayor must never conceive. Do you hear me? Never." The herbalist gave her new incantations, new powders, and strengthened the antique bottle. He promised her peace, and she left satisfied, certain she had won. At family gatherings, she played her role well. She welcomed Efadayor with false warmth. "My daughter, are you eating well? You look tired. Don't worry, God will do it." To everyone, she looked like the supportive mother-in-law. Only her bottle knew the truth. But months passed. Ardaiwale and Efadayor laughed, prayed, and loved like newlyweds. Every test came back negative. Doctors shook their heads. Moronkaiji's pride swelled. She felt untouchable. One evening, Chief teased Ardewale at dinner. "Son, do not pressure yourself. Children will come in God's time." "Yes, Daddy." Ardewale smiled. "But I know my wife. She will carry." Moronkaiji sipped her wine smugly. Never, she thought. Then destiny turned. A few months later, Ardewale stormed into the mansion, his face shining with excitement. He found his father in the library, his mother seated nearby. "Daddy! Mama! Good news!" he said, almost shouting. They looked up. "Efedayor is pregnant!" Chief's face lit up like dawn. "Ah, praise be to God! Congratulations, my son!" He hugged him firmly, but for Moronkhaiji, the words struck like thunder. Her chest tightened. The bottle had failed. The charm had failed. The impossible had happened. For the first time in years, her mask slipped. She gasped and muttered under her breath, loud enough to be heard. She didn't say she will get pregnant. Silence fell. Ardewale froze. Chief stared at her. "What did you just say?" Ardewale asked slowly, shock in his eyes. Moronkhaiji blinked rapidly, her heart racing. She forced a laugh, waving her hand. "Ah, I only meant I didn't expect it so soon. These things can take years, you know." Chief's brow furrowed, uneasy, but he said nothing. Ardewale stared at his mother for a moment, then shook his head and embraced his father again. He was too happy to fight. But inside Moronkhaiji, fear had taken root. If the Babalawo's charm could fail, then Efedayor's child was no ordinary child. And so, behind her smiles, she began plotting darker, deadlier paths. The house was still humming with congratulations when Ayalode Moronkhaiji excused herself to her room and shut the door with the softness of a woman who never needed to slam to be obeyed. The word pregnant kept circling her skull like a stubborn fly. It should have been impossible. Money had been spent, rituals had been done, assurances had been given. Yet Joy had walked in on 2 feet and sat in her living room, calling her Mama. Inside, she did not sit. She paced. The first Babalawo had promised drought, yet water was singing in her house. That meant only one thing in her arithmetic. The man was small. If a small door cannot hold a flood, find a gate. Before dawn, a trusted driver took her out of Ikoyi, across the city's throat and into red earth that kept Lagos secrets for a fee. The compound she entered did not advertise itself. Cowries rested in chalk circles. Palm fronds spoke a language learned before streetlights. The man she came to meet was called Baba Afuwape, the one whose words sit. He did not dramatize. He listened as she laid her case on the table. A son who was blind with love, a girl who was poor with dignity, a first charm that had failed. She placed the antique bottle in his hands like a complaint against fate. "This is for children's games," he said after a long silence. "You used a toy to stop a river. Can you stop it?" she asked. "I can tie time around it," he replied, eyes steady. "She will carry. She will grow. She will swell. Dates will pass like buses she cannot board. It will look like waiting. But you must understand, time takes its balance somewhere." "From me," she said quickly. "Take nothing from my son." He watched her the way a judge watches the room, then nodded to 2 attendants. They set a carved bowl inlaid with a metal that had forgotten its name. He poured powders that smelled like the beginning of rain, turned cowries gently, wrapped and unwrapped the bottle in alternating cloth, white, then red, then white again. When he returned the glass to her palm, it felt heavier, as if silence had been trapped inside. "You will not need words," he told her, "only will. Hold it when you mean it. And remember, impatience makes the ground spit." She left lighter. Back home that evening, she entertained well-wishers with fruits and beautifully phrased prayers. When the house dimmed, she locked her door, cradled the bottle, and laid her will upon it the way a dam lays its body across a river. "Carry," she breathed. "Carry and keep." Pregnancy suited Ephidaer at first. Morning nausea flirted and left. The house learned the taste of peppered plantain at odd hours. Adewale, boyish, excited, showed up at every clinic visit, asked too many questions, carried every bag. Mama Ronki arrived with soups, hymns, and a palm that stayed longer than necessary on her daughter's belly. When the due date drew a neat circle on the calendar, they packed a hospital bag, wrappers, a tiny cap, a star-sprinkled onesie that made Adewale grin, the Bible that had held his handwriting when he was 10. They waited for the orchestra of signs, the wave, the ache, the downward press. Signs came like a Legos drizzle. Here, then gone. Contractions counted perfectly at night grew shy at dawn. The doctor called it false labor and sent them home to walk and nap and laugh at old wives' tales. They still tried anyway. 2 weeks drifted past. The hospital suggested induction if nature needs a nudge. Every time they booked, something curious bow-legged the plan. The generator failed a test for the first time in years. The anesthetist sprained a wrist on a stair. A senior consultant's mother collapsed. To those who did not believe in patterns, it was a string of unfortunate events. To those who did, the string spelled a word they refused to say. Month 9 ran into month 10 as if the finish line had moved. The obstetrician's voice began to sound like a slogan. "Baby is fine, fluid acceptable, placenta functioning." He recommended a bigger hospital to be ready for any intervention. They agreed. The bigger hospital had more corridors for worry to pace. At church, the women circled Ephidaer and sang old songs with new tears. Hands rose, oil glistened, hope stacked like chairs after service. At night, Adewale learned the exact sound of his wife trying not to cry. He did not fix. He stayed. In Ikoyi, the mansion learned new theater. Iyalode perfected kindness in public and cruelty in private. She sent soups to Surulere, texted devotionals at dawn, and laid her will upon glass after dusk. Month 11 arrived with polite arrogance. Strangers whispered about ancient stories and modern mysteries. Mama Ronke prayed with fewer words and more water in her eyes. Chief started sleeping in their living room once a week, telling childhood stories until Ephidaer laughed, then cried, then slept. Adewale learned to cook one soup well. He cooked it often. One evening, Pastor Tayo, a gentle man, whose voice sounded like someone who had never been in a hurry, stopped by to greet Mama Ronki at Mushin. He had heard without being told. As he sipped Gary and ground nuts like a king accepting state dinner, he asked one question. "Does your daughter dream of glass?" Mama nodded, startled. He closed his eyes, listened to a silence she could not hear, then opened them with certainty. "Your in-law's house is warm," he said, "but there is a room where the air does not move. In that room, a bottle believes it is a clock." "Ah!" Mama Ronki slapped her thigh, sorrow and anger mixing. "Man of God, are you saying—" "I am saying," he replied softly, "that the person who smiles the most may be the person the bottle obeys." "Ha Jesu," she gasped, "the mother-in-law." He did not nod. He did not need to. "Should I confront her?" she asked. "Tell your son-in-law," he said. "Let him open his father's door." That night, Mama Ronke took a kiki to Surulere with urgency riding beside her. She did not dramatize. She sat Adewale down and told him exactly what she had heard, adding small details she had prayed she would never need to say. He did not shout. He did not question her motive. His face went still, the way a lake goes still before it tells the truth. "Thank you, Mummy," he said, voice tight. "Please get ready. We may need to go to Ikoyi." He grabbed his keys and left without calling ahead. Some doors should not be warned before they are opened. He entered the mansion like a son who still remembered where the stairs creaked, Staff greeted him with relief. Oga was here. Perhaps today would be normal. He did not greet long. He climbed to his mother's floor and reached her door without announcing himself. He opened it. Iyalode was there, seated with a posture money teaches and power confirms. In her hands, the bottle sat like a prize. For a breath, his mind refused to understand. Then he saw the faint shimmering image inside, Ephadior, heavily pregnant, palms pressed against invisible walls, lips moving in a cry no ear could keep. His world lurched. "Mama," he said, and the word came out like a wound. She did not drop the glass. She did not beg. She set it down carefully and stood, smoothing her wrapper with fingers that did not shake. "Adewale," she said evenly. "You should have knocked." "What is this?" His voice rose and broke in the same second. "Who are you?" "I am your mother," she replied. "Protecting what I built." "By imprisoning my wife?" he shouted. "By holding my child hostage in a bottle?" "Your child?" Her laugh was soft and cruel. "My son's child. My name's Air. You dragged a girl from Mushin to my table and called it love. I am arranging the bill." He stepped forward. "Release it." She met his eyes, and for the first time since he was small, did not blink. "I warned you. I told you this house does not bend to pity. She did not say she would get pregnant, and yet you parade me with surprises in my own home. Let her carry since you are stubborn, but let her learn that births in this family happen when I say so." "God," he gasped, grief curdling into rage. "You are saying this with your mouth?" "You chose a wife against my counsel," she said, voice low with heat. "Now you will choose a mother or a miracle. You cannot have both." He moved. She moved faster, years of Pilates and pride stiffening her reflexes. They scuffled without touching, the dance of two powers that had never met like this. He reached for the bottle. She pivoted. He faked, snatched, almost lost it, then held it tight against his chest, breath ragged. "Adewale," she warned, something like fear flashing at last. "Do not take one more step." He took 3. Opened the door, ran, down the stairs, past a maid who froze with a tray, past a security man who mouthed, "Jesu," into the front courtyard where Lagos was busy being Lagos. He stopped on the tiles, chest heaving, bottle warm like an insult in his palms. At that exact moment, the gate opened to a small procession. Chief Akinola, grave and certain, Mama Ronke, eyes swollen but steady, Pastor Tayo, quiet like thunder you cannot hear yet, and Ephadior, weak, heavy, unhappy, supported on both sides by women who loved her. Their eyes found the bottle in his hands. The courtyard inhaled. "Blood of Jesus," Mama Ronke whispered, both hands to her head. Chief looked from the glass to his son's face and, in that instant, understood the price of the last 12 months. Grief rearranged his features. "Moronkaiji," he called, not as husband to wife, but as judge to witness. She came out, head high, chin set, queen even under accusation. When she saw the assembly, she did not cower. She folded her arms and stood before her own front door like a monument. "Mother," Adewale said, voice shaking, "confess." "To who?" she asked, amused. "To a tailor and her pastor? To a daughter-in-law who wants to reap where she did not plant?" Pastor Tayar stepped forward, still not loud. "Madam, the earth is kind to the rich because the poor cannot afford to argue. But heaven has no price list. Return what you have held." She smiled with all her teeth. "I warned her," she said to the gathering, as if giving a press statement. "I told her to leave my son. She insisted on tying her poverty to my name. Now she is learning a lesson all climbers learn. Not every ladder is for you." There was an audible gasp. Chief shut his eyes like a man refusing to watch a building he paid for collapse. The pastor turned to Adewale. "Son, what you hold is not glass. It is a courtroom," he said. "Judgment is a sentence away. Lift it." Adewale raised the bottle. "Madam," the pastor said finally, turning his calm into command, "you have no authority here. By the mercy of the one who gives children in seasons, your word expires today." He faced Adewale again. "Break it!" For the first time, Ayalode's composure cracked. She took a step forward, hand outstretched. "Adewale, break it!" The pastor's voice did not rise, but the ground seemed to hear him. Chief placed a hand on his son's shoulder. Mama Ronke clutched her chest and whispered names of God. Efedayor swayed, a low moan escaping her as if her body were catching a scent it had been denied. Adewale brought the bottle down hard on the stone step. It shattered, not like glass, but like a held breath finally released. A wind that did not belong to Lagos moved around them and was gone. Efedayor screamed, not with fear, but with the ancient shout of a body opening. Her hands flew to her belly. Water broke, there in the courtyard, the way water has always chosen its own moment. "Labor!" one of the women cried, half praising, half panicking. Simultaneously, Ayalode clutched her eyes. "What is this?" she gasped, stumbling. I cannot see." Darkness gathered in her gaze like spilled ink. She reached for a wall that refused to be where her mind remembered. Pride, for the first time in her polished life, failed to stand her up. No one answered her. The courtyard shifted from tribunal to emergency. Chief snapped into motion. "Car! Now!" Kunle swung the SUV around with the urgency of a man who had waited a year to floor the pedal. Mama Ronke and the pastor bundled Efedayor in with blankets that were not blankets. Adewale slid in beside her, palms catching her breath. Chief took the front seat. Iyalode reached into the darkness that had become her world and touched nothing. As they pulled away, Pastor Tayor turned once to the woman at the gate who had been queen of this address for 2 decades. He did not gloat. He did not summarize. He simply said, "Return to God what you stole from time." The driver did not stop hearing the cry in the back seat until the hospital swallowed them. Inside, theater lights did not blink. The anesthetist did not sprain anything. The consultant's hands moved like a man who finally had permission. Adewale did not sit. He prayed standing, forehead to the cool glass of a door that hid mercy and medicine. A baby's cry burst through the corridor like a song Lagos had been trying to write for a year. A nurse opened the door with the smile of a woman who had seen the opposite too often. "Bouncing baby boy," she announced, as if declaring independence. Adewale forgot that grown men are supposed to swallow tears. Chief sagged against a wall and turned his face away from staff. Mama Ronke went to her knees where nurses prefer people not to kneel and said thank you in 3 languages. In the ward, Efedayor, tired, glowing, emptied, and full, held a small boy with a mouth that already looked like a promise. "My son," she whispered, "Ariormide, my joy has come." Back in Ikoyi, Iyalode sat on the edge of her well-made bed, eyes open to a darkness that would not explain itself. Her fingers were folded neatly in her lap, as if a photographer had arranged them for a magazine. For the first time since she learned to climb ladders, she did not know what to do next. The house breathed around her without asking permission, and somewhere between Surulere and Ikoyi, the city exhaled. The kind of exhale a year trapped in a bottle owes the air. Thus ended the long night of waiting. A night stretched into 12 painful months. The pride of a mother who feared losing her grip, the cruelty of wealth that thought itself greater than destiny, and the secret hand that tried to cage life itself. All fell before the hand of the Almighty. Efedayor gave birth not just to a child, but to testimony. Adewale learned that love without courage is fragile, but love with truth is unbreakable. Chief Akinola discovered that silence in the face of wickedness is also a kind of agreement, and Moraunkaiji, the wealthy, proud matriarch who thought she could control time, discovered that when a person fights God's purpose, they are only fighting their own peace. She remained blind forever. The bottle broke, the baby cried, and heaven proved again what elders have always said. No matter how long a lie sits, truth will one day stand. No matter how strong an incantation is, destiny is stronger. And no matter how delayed joy may be, joy will surely come. Dear beautiful family, this was the story of Effa the girl from a humble background whose destiny could not be caged, and the mother-in-law whose wealth could not purchase fate. If you have followed this tale from beginning to end, you will agree with us that pride destroys, but humility builds. Hatred delays, but love delivers. And in the end, God's time is always the best. Thank you for watching African Tales by Emma Day. If you enjoyed this story, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can join this family of timeless tales. Until next time, remember this: destiny may be delayed, but it can never be denied. See you in our next story, and may your joy never be trapped in any bottle.